Hello and welcome to 2015 SUSU elections. I'm Kash and I'll be taking you through the first half of the elections, at which point Amelia will be taking over. Now the candidates have been briefed, so they'll have some idea as to the questions that we're going to be asking today, so they can give you a more accurate answer and make you have a better understanding of what they're going on about. So we're going to start you off with the VP Sports candidates. Could you please come on stage? Hiya, do you want to introduce yourselves?
Hi there, my name's Ashley Sivarajah. I'm a third-year economics student and I play hockey and cricket for the university.
Hi, I'm Jamie. I'm a third-year chemistry student. I'm your current intramural officer and I play rugby, touch rugby and lots of intramural rugby.
Hi, my name's Roman. I'm the current president of the Southampton University rowing team and I'm a third-year mathematics student.
Hi, my name's Stephen. I'm a second-year lawyer and I'm a member of the swim team.
Alright guys, so we're going to go straight in with the first question that I've got. So the majority of the VP Sports development time is going to be spent in the AU, but a lot of students aren't involved in the AU because they're involved in much more casual sports. How do you feel like your priorities will be on this role? Let's start off with you, Stephen.
Well, I think that casual sports participation is equally as important, if not more important, than our sporting performance aspect. In the role, I would devote a large part of my time towards increasing participation at grassroots level, towards working with my intramural team to make sure that that runs really efficiently, to make sure there are no refereeing problems. And really, I'd work with groups from all across the university, all different backgrounds and ethnicities, to make sure that there are no obstacles to sports participation and to make sure that people are aware of opportunities. It's grassroots participation which leads to success in the long term.
Okay, thanks, Stephen. What about you, Rowan?
As I stated in my manifesto, I would quite like to see a representative of the university elected to represent all the casual users. Currently, we've got around 9,000 students with sport and wellbeing membership. Only 1,200 of them actually play for the AU, so it is a large proportion are just casual users. Naturally, though, by the fact that they just want to go to the gym, they're not overly keen on being told what to do. So I do think it's proportionally, I wouldn't spend as much time with them, but they are so key to what and how the university is run.
Cool. Jamie?
Obviously, the athletic union is absolutely huge. There's lots of clubs and lots of issues arise. However, the issues that do arise mean that the VP Sports does generally have to spend quite a bit of time with them. However, intramural and other participation aspects shouldn't be left unrepresented at all. I know Katie's done a lot of work with intramural this year and has worked, I know at the beginning of the year, towards getting a casual users forum to represent the views of people using it on a casual basis.
Cool. Ashley?
Yeah, like they've all said, AU sport is important for us to focus on, but at the same time it's important to focus on the recreational level, as I think it's a way for students to get away from their degree, have a bit of fun, and the only way you can do that is by helping them, by reducing costs for them in order for them to go and play tennis on the courts or go take a football and play on the pitches, etc. And a way of doing that is giving them the option to go out there rather than having to go and book it out.
Cool. Stephen, Ronan, you were mentioning that you wanted to elect a representative for the more casual level sport users. How would you go about doing that?
I think it would, I don't know if it happens straight away, but it's something that I'd want to push for, and they just be elected in the same way as the intramural reps is elected, so by the people, for the people, essentially.
Does anyone else, Jamie?
Isn't that what the sports participation officer's for? It's essentially, Katie's been working at putting in a casual users forum or committee underneath the sports participation officer. So Katie's already sort of done that. It's just making sure that people actually run for those positions and sit on it, and therefore the views are brought forward.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, but the sports participation officer, I think, is more directed towards disabilities in sport and gender equality in sport, and I think the role is so massive, it does need another person to take on these extra nearly 8,000 people who do just use the gym every day casually. I think their opinion is just as important as everyone else's. They're the people who are paying just as much as everyone else.
Cool. Ashley, do you want to weigh on in this?
Well, just what they're saying there about like the intramural, the people that participate in intramural and like the recreational level, all it takes is one person from the AU side to go along to one of these sessions and just sort of encourage them to like tag along and then see what it's like to be part of an AU team and then potentially increase their involvement within sport at Southampton.
So you're going for a much more informal route to target these guys participating at casual level. Okay, cool. Anyone else got anything to say?
Well, I think that I fundamentally agree with Roman in that we need to somehow communicate with the large body of students who aren't playing formal university sports. And he's proposed another committee position, and that kind of democratic voting will obviously engage some of those students. But I think that we need to kind of find some sort of bridge between Ashley's more informal approach and Roman's formal approach and the existing sports participation officer to really achieve our goal. And our goal is to increase participation across the university. I'd like to see 90% participation in sports. Durham has 92%. There's no reason why we can't match that in 5 or 6 years.
So cheers for that. We're going on to the next question now. A lot of you are promoting tiered sport and wellbeing membership. Now, this might prevent some people from actually getting involved in some ways because if they're only using it for casual levels, then they won't have that sort of right to go and use it for sports memberships. What do you guys think about that? Start off with you, Ronan.
I disagree. I think the ideal situation is where at the intramural level, people that just want to swim or just want to play football once or twice a week, a cheaper membership will encourage more people to play. However, saying that, there is huge risks for sport and wellbeing in this sense because there's no guarantee that they will be able to make the same amount of money. There is huge pressure from the university for them to hit financial targets. So there are a lot of risk analysis needs to go into this and a lot of preparation, which I'd be willing to do, but I think it is something we should definitely be pushing towards.
Thank you. Jamie?
The tiered membership, I think, could really work at getting more people actually involved. I don't see any reason that if at the beginning of the year you bought one package, later on in the year you could upgrade it to something that was on a slightly higher tariff and therefore get involved in the sport that you want to do. I don't see why that would be an issue, especially if, as is currently being planned, or I'd like to see, a monthly payment was being offered.
Cool. Ashley?
Yeah, I agree with what they're saying. No, I don't think they'll lose. They'll lose out on people buying the membership because if you go to look at a tiered membership, it'll be cheaper, and with the entitlement card not being available anymore, people are having to pay for membership out of their own pocket as opposed to using the entitlement to pay for it. And then also, if you get provided with a cheaper gym membership to use a gym, then students will go actually to university gym rather than go to like JoJo's down Portswood or another gym.
Cool. Stephen?
Okay, I think Roman's analysis has hit the nail on the head here. On the one hand, you want to increase participation by making gym memberships cheaper, but on the other, you realise that sport and wellbeing don't currently break even, and if you take away all of those, let's say at the moment there are 9,000 people that sign up for the £140 membership, take away half of those, and you're losing about £500,000 from sport and wellbeing's income. Now, £500,000 is an awful lot of money that we're going to have to somehow account for. Are we going to take more grants from the university? Are we going to try and raise it from commercial sponsorship? We can't start proposing tiered gym memberships until we've actually got the solutions on the table for how we're going to fund it. Okay?
Okay, so I'd just like to add that some people might not choose to go for a gym membership because they find the first startup cost too expensive and they only want to use it for, let's say, casual gym use. I mean, how do you sort of go about accommodating those people who might not pay that whole fee in the first place?
Well, off the top of my head, it seems like maybe a monthly payment scheme might work. But again, that requires a line of credit to sport and wellbeing so that they can effectively have the money from up front because they need that money at the start of the year. Do you see what I'm saying? It comes down to finances. I'm not an economist and they've got an accounts department, but what I can do is sit down with them, tell them what we want, and they'll tell me whether or not it's actually realistic.
Cool. Do any of the other guys have anything about monthly payment options?
Well, I know that Sport and Wellbeing at the moment are actually doing a review into their membership, and this came about because at the beginning of the year there were quite a few intramural players and therefore teams that couldn't actually play because they didn't have enough players who wanted to pay the full £145 to play 1 hour a week on the netball courts, for instance, or 2 hours on the rugby court. And I think that the tiered gym membership really does need to come into place. Even if it's just 2 tiers, one that includes gym and one that doesn't. And I think it would work. Obviously, there is risk, and it would need to be looked at properly, but there is no reason why it wouldn't be able to be put in place.
Yeah, that's what I said in my manifesto, that when we're talking about tiered membership, there should be like a gym membership and then a wide lane membership. Because there are many sportsmen that use the facilities at wide lane that don't actually use the gym. So, as he said, the netball courts, the tennis courts, hockey pitch, and the rubber crumb, like you'll get people that will want to use those pitch but don't really want to use the gym. So, a tiered membership will help that massively.
Cool. Thank you. And so, yeah, many of you have mentioned how you'd like to increase funding for sports development in your manifestos. Now, Sports Development Zone currently receives over £2,300 per each group, and the Education Zone is only receiving £85. Do you think this inequality in funding is justified? Start with you, Jamie.
Personally, from my experience sitting on the funding committees and other committees within the Athletic Union, it's extremely hard to compare the two different zones. The sports zone has to travel every single week to get to matches, and at the moment we can't even fund all of that. We can only fund half of it. On top of that, they've got expensive equipment costs, especially the ones with higher startup like American football and sailing and rowing. It's extremely hard to compare the two, and therefore I'd say that the inequality is justified.
Cool. Ashley?
Yeah, I've basically had the same to as what Jamie said. So all groups should be treated equally, but when you look at how much each group within the zone, so if you take like the sports teams, how much they have to spend on kit, travelling, compared to how much, say, education zone group had to spend. If you look at proportionally, the sports zone teams spend a lot more, so they do need more money, which does seem unfair, and I see why. I can see why people are saying groups need to be treated equally. But.
Stephen.
I think that I broadly agree with what Jamie and Ashley have been saying. I mean, it's worth pointing out, though, that the Democracy and Creative Industries Zone fund 100% of travel for their groups. Sports Zone only funds 50%. The clubs are required to find 50% of their travel costs. So I think to argue that we're proportionally kind of, more highly funded and favoured is actually not accurate when you really break down the figures. And just to reiterate what Jamie was saying, for chemistry, civil engineering and French SOC, education zone groups have very different requirements to the swim team, the rowers who obviously have a large number of boats to purchase, and coaching to pay for. It's not comparable.
Okay. Ronan?
I think groups, in a sense, that when you're using numbers, it can be really distorted. And I think groups are treated equally in the sense of the impact they have on students, their say in the students' union. When you put a numerical value on it, if you look at membership costs for the education zone, it's what, £5 membership? For a sports team, you're looking at near £100 membership. And that's just because of the basic needs to play a sport and the requirements of the different societies.
Okay, a lot of you mentioned minibuses in your manifestos, how you'd like to get more of those to sort of help with transport. So how would you go about funding this, Ashley?
Well, there's many ways. We can look to get more funding from the student union itself, or also look for like an external sponsor that would be looking to help fund providing us with minibus, and we can get like a sponsor on the side of the bus, and then when we travel, like we're spreading their brand. And like I'm not saying we need like another 6 or 7 minibus. We just need 2 or 3, because 5 minibuses across 80 plus clubs in the AUs just isn't enough to travel to away games on a Wednesday.
Stephen?
I think the solution is not necessarily to purchase new minibuses centrally, because again, that's taking funds that we could invest potentially more valuably elsewhere, maybe in helping to fund the tiered gym membership that my friends are so keen on. What I would do is form commercial relationships with outside companies around the community. Community is a big part of my campaign. We need to look beyond the university. Last weekend, the swim team took 2 minibuses up to Sheffield. We travelled down to a company in Romsey, hired them at a good rate. And what I want is the union to be creating relationships so we can get discounts for clubs. So it's a simple solution to the problem.
Rowan?
Yeah, I actually have not said anything about buying new minibuses because the Students' Union are actually looking to get rid of the ones we have. It's not feasible. They're not used half of the year, and it's just not a good investment. There are perfectly good companies such as SHB in Romsey who loan a lot of the clubs minibuses, and I think they would just be wasted money, to be honest.
Jamie?
Yeah, I think we need more. Like Ashley said, it's hard for clubs to get down to training sessions, let alone some matches in Plymouth or Exeter. And keeping it in-house is slightly more easy to hire the minibuses. Therefore, that's why I put in more. Obviously, Steve's suggestion of links with external minibuses, and as Roman said as well, is a very good alternative, and it shouldn't be ignored at all. I think it should be a mixture of the two, which you go forward with, and the Students' Union, in my opinion, shouldn't be scrapping them.
Cool. Okay, could we get a quick roundup of your main points for the day, Stephen?
Yeah, let me share my vision. It's 2020, 5 years from now. Southampton's Sports University of the Year. Like other Russell Group universities, we have full-time Director of Sport. Students choose Southampton over Durham, Birmingham and Nottingham because Team Southampton offers them the facilities and coaching to fulfil their sporting ambitions. The university has fully recognised the crucial role sport plays in well-being and as a pathway to academic achievement, and supports our programme of development. We have 90% sports participation. A long-term corporate sponsor has invested in our vision. We are transparent and accountable to our students and staff. It can't be done, they'll say. You can't achieve 90% participation. Well, I say listen carefully. It can be done. We will achieve this over the next 5 years. Let me say unequivocally, we'll build a sports programme that is the envy of British universities.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Brendan?
I won't be quite as dramatic as that, but I've got 12 months if I get the position. That's not a long time, so what can I do in those 12 months? I feel Katie and Evan have already pushed us on the path of getting Team Southampton Brown out there, getting us better known as a sporting university. So what am I going to do? Well, the facilities, I'm not going to build any more facilities, but I can give you better access, organise it better, start early, make sure people have their slots ready so they can come back and start training as soon as possible and get better that way. Money, we're not going to get any more money, so instead I'm going to open up better channels, help people who are trying to write proposals to get sponsorship, get better external funding and find money that way. And as for my final point, I think it's just all about communication. Communication, communication, communication. There's no reason why, with the facilities we've got, we can't be excellent in sport and be even better than we are today.
Thanks, Ron. Jamie?
I have the most experience on the sports zone, and this will allow me to do some great things as soon as I step into the role. Tiered gym membership for me is key. I see no reason why I couldn't implement it within my time in office if elected. Again, I want to ensure that facilities are used effectively and are always filled by student groups when possible, without the expense, without taking away from external groups. And yeah, other than that, win with Wilson. Vote for me, please.
Yeah. Ashley?
I'm a very committed sportsman and I always give 100% on the field, and I intend to do the same for this position. I've had experience over the last 2 years working with two AU clubs, and I know the communication problems that we've had with the AU, and the first thing I'll look to do is to sort that out. I'll look to also resolve the transport issues that most clubs have had this year, and as well as improve our relationship with sports and wellbeing. And lastly, I'd like to leave you, a vote for me is a vote for a bigger, better and stronger AU, and I hope I get the chance to show you this next year.
Cool. Thank you very much, guys. We're going to take a 5 to 10 minute break while we get ready for the VP Education debate.